Hey guys, it's your host Julian. This week I'm sitting down with resident cartoon junkie Mr. Brandon Jones from Animation Destination to talk all things What a Cartoon. This episode right here is part 2. Brandon did part 1 over on his show, Animation Destination, so make sure you go over to his podcast and check out part 1. I want to give a special shout out to a couple of our patrons that help make this podcast possible. Bill, Brent, Brittany, Call Me Spiky, Eight-Legged Bird, Jacob, and Nick. Thank you all so much for your support. It truly means a lot. Now, let's get on to my chat with Brandon about What a Cartoon. Welcome to What's My Podcast. My name is Julian. Today I'm joined by resident cartoon junkie from Animation Destination, Mr. Brandon Jones. Brandon, how are you, sir?
Doing well. How you doing?
Oh, fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, before you go any further with this episode, make sure you go over to Animation Destination. He has part 1 of this chat. This is part 2. So if you want to, which you do want to, you need to hear what we were talking about. We're talking about What a Cartoon over on Brandon's podcast, Animation Destination, on Spotify, on YouTube. Not YouTube. Are you on YouTube yet?
I'll be on YouTube soon.
He's going to be on YouTube soon, so make sure you hit like, subscribe, and share the shit out of his channel. And then we've got Spotify, we've got Apple, we've got Google Podcast. I don't know too many. Amazon, I think they're doing podcasts now these days too. So wherever you listen to your podcast, absolutely. And then click the links below. You can follow over to Animation Destination. But like I said, What a Cartoon. We finished up with probably the most interesting of the What a Cartoon shorts with Ralph Bakshi's, what was it, Melvin?
Yeah.
Shit.
Melvin and Malcolm.
Melvin and Malcolm, thank you.
Or Malcolm, Melvin, and Babe, he calls me. Yep.
So we finished up with those, and we're going to go into one of yours. Let's start with one of yours first, man. So we talked Larry and Steve. We talked the Ralph Bakshi ones. Which one do you want to go into next? Dealer's choice.
I would love to talk about. I didn't actually talk about this one when we were talking about it prior. So this one's a surprise one. I remember this one because it was just interesting that this was going to be a thing. This one has an interesting story behind it. Dino the Great Eggscape. So this was a Dino centric episode. It was a short, that was centered around the Flintstones dinosaur dog character Dino Brontosaurus, pet Brontosaurus, who was very small for some reason.
Can you do a Dino act? Can you do a Dino voice?
I don't think I can. Because it's a wispier Astro. It's a little bit different than Astro, so it's hard to say. I'd have to really listen to it and think about it. But
you threw a couple impersonations out there, your episodes. So I was like, oh man, I wonder if he can get a Dino in there.
Yeah, it's a little bit it's a little bit harder. I'd have to listen to it and like really hear about it because like it's a very yappy yap. He's got a very yappy dog voice, so be hard. It's I think Frank Welker did him. Probably Frank Welker. He typically does.
I wouldn't be surprised. He does everything.
He did Astro. He did a bunch of stuff. But yeah, he does Scooby now, which I was interested to learn that he did not do Scooby back in the day. I didn't know that for the longest time. So I was just assumed it was Frank Welker that did him. Yeah, he did Fred.
He did Fred. Oh man, why am I spacing on? Don Messick did Scooby.
Don Messick did him. Yeah. Don Messick did him for the longest time, and then he took over it in the more modern days, which I was shocked by that. I was like, oh yeah, okay. So he still does Fred to this day. So
yes,
unless we're talking about Velma season 2, which we're not.
We don't have to. No, nobody wants to talk about that.
I did watch it for some stupid reason because I'm an insane person, but we don't need to talk about it.
Was it good as the first one?
It was about on par. It was probably worse because it was like more boring. Like, I wasn't like insulted by anything that's going on because I knew what was happening. So I was just sort of like, yeah, okay, got it. It just was like flatline the whole time. It never got better.
People like what they like. Yeah. People like what they like and hate what they hate.
It's true. But Dino the Great Eggscape was a short this was a pitch that was going to happen. They were going to do a whole slew of like Dino shorts. And I can't remember what the story was behind it that got that kind of canned. I think it was just like lack of interest because for some reason, like there's always these pitches to relaunch Flintstones. It happens all the time. it happened a lot back in the day because you had the original Flintstones, then you had the Betty and or
Wilma
the
show.
Barney. Yeah, the Betty and Wilma show. Then you had the Barney and Rubble, the Barney and Fred Power Hour thing. There's a bunch of different shows that they put out. Then you had the Flintstone Kids
Hmm.
when everybody was a kid.
I
That you
loved
know
it.
that yeah, that was I did too. I watched it all the time. You had the was it just called Pebbles and Bam Bam? Yeah, Pebbles and Bam Bam
Pebbles and Bam
show.
Bam.
Yeah, and you had all these shows that kept going, and then at some point, like they just decided that they had no interest in doing Flintstones or Jetsons ever again.
Hmm.
It's weird because like once the Flintstones movie came out, you thought you would get like a new Flintstones cartoon. Never happened. I think there was like maybe one special that came out. In fact, the only thing that can get these shows to come out again is WWE. WWE is the
Yes.
only thing that can get Flintstones or Jetsons to make a new thing.
Well, they
Um,
tried with Flintstones on the Rocks not too long ago. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
probably 20 years ago, but even then it
yeah,
didn't go anywhere. I think Seth
exactly.
MacFarlane was attached to that one.
He was attached to that one as well. It was also Bob Camp. I want to say the
Mhm.
other guy who did Ren and Stimpy was also attached to it. That might have been he might have been only attached to the Yogi Bear cartoon, which was real bad. Uh,
John Kay.
yeah,
Yeah.
they did a
Man,
Yogi
even
Bear
20
special.
years ago, they were still trying
Yeah,
to get him around.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So, but yeah, but they had the Flintstones on the Rocks. I remember that specifically. I remember Seth MacFarlane was going to do a reboot, uh, like 10 years ago of the Flintstones. That got canned. It got re-upped again, and now apparently it's canned again. It's because there's for some reason they have these ideas to like do more Flintstone stuff, and then it gets canceled. And that happened, I think, the first time with this Dino show because I remember them talking about this. This was going to be a thing. It was in a few Toon magazines. It was like, here's the first short of oncoming Dino shorts that are going to be coming up to Cartoon Network, and there's nothing ever came of it after that. It just got lack of interest. They pulled away and they said, "Eh, nobody wants to see Dino shorts." And it's interesting because he's just baby again. It's a very basic story. He's babysitting an egg. The egg goes through crazy shenanigans, almost gets cracked, blah blah blah, and but it's all done in the Flintstones world. So you don't really you didn't see that in the time frame that it was around because you had reruns of Flintstones that still comes out to this day, but new Flintstone stuff wasn't a thing back then. So the last newest Flintstones things that I think I saw was Flintstones meets the Jetsons. So
Yeah.
it was interesting to see like oh here's a new Flintstones cartoon that's coming out, and then it never came out. It was very disappointing when that didn't happen. And I don't think I was like super into the idea, but it was just like, oh, this is a property that I know. I'd like to see more of it, and it never happened. Never got to come to fruition. I thought that was a bit sad. So,
I was always a Flintstones guy over the Jetsons.
mm,
And I remember being a little kid and wanting to see more Flintstone stuff. I've never really understood why that one Scooby-Doo is like synonymous with Cartoon Network. I mean, they're pumping out
mm,
Scooby-Doo to Cartoon Network is what the Mickey Mouse shorts over on Disney right now. It's just like they're trying to compete, even though I think the Mickey Mouse shorts are a hell of a lot better than a lot of the Scooby-Doo stuff that's coming out. Unfortunately, it's just
mm,
like oversaturation for me. It's like
yeah,
the thing with all the Star Wars stuff, all the Marvel stuff now. It's just so much stuff out there, and it just feels like
mm,
it's watered down. You can't really care about something if you're always watching it. You get desensitized to it. But
mm,
I would love to see something new with the Flintstones. I think Seth MacFarlane would be one of the voices I would love to hear. I think he
yeah,
could make a hell of a story. But you really got
mm,
to take one of these creators or a couple of these creators and just fill that room full of
mm,
artists and full of writers
yeah,
that this was their favorite show or this was a show that they loved. I think that would do the show and us fans some serious justice.
yeah, absolutely, 100%. And yeah, it's a very interesting thing that because we talked about it on the first half and everything. This is such a unique uh thing for the time. Uh, the What a Cartoon Show because it was like it was a sink or fail type of thing. It was just like, hey, we're gonna give you guys the shot to take this idea and run with it, and we're going to put it on the air and see where it goes. And I believe Siebert's thing was his whole pitch of it was promising 48 chances to
Mhm.
succeed or fail for new original creators to do a thing. So he had 48 slots to fill, and that's, and some of them got filled by uh, extra ones from other ones, like, I think Powerpuff Girls had 2 or 3, Johnny Bravo had 2. There were some that had like more than just the one, but this idea that, like, hey, we're gonna pitch this cartoon show, or this all these cartoons. We're gonna let you do what you want, and you get to retain these ideas and stuff like that. And you had big names attached to it, like, again, like William Hanna was attached to this one and several
Mhm.
others. So one of the last cartoons William Hanna ever did was on this show, so ever produced. So it's crazy. Those are big time names. So
Yeah, those were titans in the industry, though. I mean, those
mhm.
guys brought you
Yeah,
some of the greatest cartoons of all time. Think about the Hanna-Barbera library, think about the Ruby Spears library, think about Tom and Jerry. You think
right.
about all of these things. Like these guys built a foundation of all of our cartoon experiences. One of the first and earliest memories of cartoons, obviously you've got the Looney Tunes, but man, Tom and Jerry played more than any cartoon I
Hmm.
remember
Yeah.
growing up. I mean, Tom and Jerry Kids, you had Tom and Jerry, you had a pup named
Hmm.
Scooby-Doo, you had
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo. Like I said, you had all of these Hanna-Barbera characters, and I know that like that was his last one.
Hmm.
I'm always fascinated and I'm always appreciative of like when people like not only chase their dreams, but they get to do it and set out everything that they set out to do.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of like when Kevin Smith had his heart attack. I know we're not talking Kevin Smith, but I love talking about Kevin Smith when I can. Kevin Smith had his heart attack, and he talked about
Hmm.
being on that operating table and having that widowmaker, and then
Hmm.
being at peace. Like if he were to go right then, right there,
Hmm.
he would be at
Right.
peace because he got to make every movie he wanted to make up to that point. He got to put his friends and his family in his movies. He got to chase his childhood dream, kind of like what Will and Joe were doing when they were creating these characters. And then
Hmm.
to know that he got to finish one of his last cartoons that he got to produce was not one of his biggest hits, but probably I think the Flintstones is probably the biggest. You could say Scooby, but that was like a Ruby Spears production, so it was absorbed by Hanna-Barbera, and it
Right.
just I don't know, man. Like when I think of the Flintstones, it's like that's that corner piece. That's that Mount Rushmore of the Hanna-Barbera library. You can throw a
Yeah.
whole bunch of shit in there. You can throw Scooby in there too. You
Hmm.
can throw any other character, but I think the Flintstones, in my opinion, were probably, I mean, I don't know how they felt about it, but probably the one, maybe two, like greatest things they ever created. And to know
Yeah.
he got to go out that way,
Yeah.
I just thought it was apropos, if you will.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. No, I totally agree. Because yeah, again, Flintstones is like, especially for its time, like I said, for some reason, it's just fallen off it's fallen off the executive radar. People don't really want to make a Flintstones thing anymore unless Vince McMahon wants to do it. Uh,
Goddamn 28-year-old executives
I know, right?
don't
Yeah.
like animation, don't
I
know
know.
animation.
Oh,
Give me
man,
a
it's
job,
crazy.
Cartoon Network Studios. I know you're
It's
defunct right now, but I can
crazy.
bring
I
you
know.
back to the promised land.
Right. Yeah. That's the other problem, is just like everything is like, it again, people can like blame executives and stuff, but really it's because Warner Brothers was hemorrhaging like $2 billion
Hmm.
a year. That's why. And
Yeah.
animation's expensive. So when you get to write it off, it's a big write off. So I hate that happens, but I get it. I understand it. I just wish that things that were already finished got to see the light of day. I think it's complete horseshit when something that's complete and ready and out the door,
Release
that you
Coyote
just
versus Acme is what we're getting at.
that's
We're
what
not cutting it. We're not fucking sending these sneak discs,
no,
Drake. We're going
no,
straight to the heart.
we're going right
Release
to it.
Coyote
Re-
versus Acme now.
Release it. And they never can, because they literally wrote it off. So
Uh,
it can never be released. It can be leaked at some point, but if I remember right, they literally like canned all of the digital files before they announced it, so it couldn't get leaked, because that's what happened to Crypto and Scooby-Doo. Crypto
mhm.
Scooby-Doo got leaked, and then they just went ahead and released it because they didn't quite, because it was, they said they weren't going to release it, then it got released, leaked out, so then they released it regularly because they weren't able to do the whole freaking, you know, uh, tax write off for it, I guess, because the leak. I don't know. So they literally took all the copies of Coyote versus Acme, like, and like canned them and put them in the vault and then said, nope, we're done. Luckily, they can't be deleted. There are laws about deleting media like that now. So because people worked on those things, you can't just say like, oh, it never existed, because like people worked on that. That's part of their portfolio. They have to be able to credit it. It has to be real. So they can't delete it. Someone can have when if WB goes defunct, someone can grab that and like put it up there. So I don't know, but we'll
Let's start a
see.
GoFundMe, Brendan.
Yeah, but to
Fund us to
buy,
buy Warner Brothers Discovery, whatever
yeah,
the fuck it's called these days. Who
right,
was that? Who was that guy? Ah, for the life of me, he's in Russia right now.
yeah.
He leaked all that information. Joseph
Oh,
Gordon-Levitt's played him in a movie.
Julian Assange.
No, not Julian
No, no,
Assange. That's the name I was thinking. He was
oh
WikiLeaks. It's
yeah,
the other one.
the other guy.
He's yeah,
I
he's
forget his name.
glasses. He worked at Intel.
Yes, yeah, I
We need
forget
the
his name.
equivalent of that in
For
Cartoon Network, like snooping and going
yeah,
and leaking the
yeah,
Coyote versus Acme.
yeah. Like it's so hard to find like these sorts of there are so many things that I want to find that like exist out there that I
Mhm.
want so bad. Um
Let's
and
get back to What a Cartoon in just a second. But if you
yeah,
could think of three things right now that
yeah,
you for sure know, like if I
yeah,
could flip the switch, I
yeah,
would release it. What are three properties, three movies that they haven't done, or three
yeah,
cartoons that you know are out there that you would love to see?
yeah. Popeye, Kenny Tartakovsky,
Hmm.
finish that bitch and send it out. Cause I got the leak of that. I got the torrent
Hmm.
of that and watched it, and it's great. And I would
Yeah,
love to see a finished product of that. Like 100%. Loved it. Um, I would release the here's a deep cut. Did you ever watch the show Visionaries from the 80s, Knights of the Magical Light?
I don't think so.
That is one that I do have a DVD release of that from England. It never got released here, but I do have an English and a UK release of that DVD. But what I would release is I would release the soundtrack of that show. The
Hmm.
scores of that show are fucking phenomenal, and I want
Yeah,
those. I want that soundtrack. It's like up there with Thundercats to me with soundtrack. Like I
yeah.
love that soundtrack, and luckily the soundtrack of Thundercats is readily available. But Visionaries, you cannot hear those songs unless you are watching the show. And just to hear those songs in the background with all the action going on is just like, oh, I love it. That's definitely something that I would release. And the last thing that I would release is Tiger Sharks from the
Tiger
comic strip.
Sharks.
Tiger Shark. I want a full release of Tiger Sharks. I have a bootleg DVD that has like 10 episodes, some not complete, some terrible quality, but I want a full 52 episode release of Tiger Sharks and the comic strip short from Rankin Bass. Like that's what I want. I need that someday, but can't find it anywhere. Don't know. So there's a reel out there somewhere that someone owns
I
that I would love to
guarantee
pay for.
one
So
of these cons, man, one of these nerds have got to have it because that's how I got so much of my stuff when I was younger. I'd go to cons and buy bootlegs.
yeah,
It's because you want to support. That's what sucks about this, about any of this stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll go back to What a Cartoon in just a second, but I think this is very pertinent to
yeah,
what's going on and what we're talking about. Like if it
yeah.
wouldn't have been for YouTube, we wouldn't have been able to go back and watch What a Cartoon.
Right.
You
No,
know,
no, it's not available anywhere. None of these
no,
are.
you can't get a physical copy of all of these shorts. You can't
Yeah.
like the closest thing I have. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Yeah.
I actually got this from
Yeah.
Fred. So I almost die getting up out of my chair.
I
But it was
I want to
that was
say that while you're grabbing that, I want to say the only thing that would probably be available is probably if you bought the Powerpuff Girls DVD or the Dexter's Lab. I'm sure the pilot is somewhere on there. Like those pilots are probably on there in some capacity, because I'm pretty sure I saw the best quality of those is probably the Powerpuff Girls and stuff like that. So, but that's things that got picked up and were released. So these ones that didn't, you can't find Mean in the Count. There's no Mean in the Count DVD. Kidding? Like doesn't
it'd be
exist.
it'd be nice
So
if there was, and I would love art books for shit. This might be the wrong one. I would love art books all of for all of them, the
mhm.
ones that came out and
Yeah,
um it's just I'm actually looking at the Nickelodeon stuff now. So Fred sent me this book, and it was all
yeah,
the stuff that Fred Rader had produced and released. And I could have swore this one had all of the. Oh yeah, it does have the what a cartoon. So
Nice.
um, so that's the name of
Oh,
the
very
book. It's
cool.
the original, the best of the original cartoons. So it's got all of these
Oh, wow.
cards, a little bit of the information and stuff like that. But it's also Nickelodeon, MTV, so everything he did, the
Nice.
five big ones. Oh yeah, cartoons and all that other shit.
Oh
Um,
yeah, cartoons. That's the freaking other show I was
that
trying to
was
think
the
of.
second one.
Yeah.
Um,
Trying to
but it
think of that.
was without without releasing. It's much like history. I can't remember who said the quote, but if you forget your history, if you forget where you come from, you're doomed to repeat you're doomed to
Yeah.
repeat it essentially, right? It's the
Hmm.
same thing, man. If we don't understand like where these cartoons got their start, like you can trace back Gendy, Craig McCracken, you can trace back all of their careers through
Hmm.
their work. You'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, they were a Tex Avery fan.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a John Kay reference.
Hmm.
Oh, that was such and such. If they don't have the physical release of these things, how
Yeah.
are they supposed to inspire? You can see
Yeah.
Samurai Jack now. You can't see Symbionic Titan. You
No.
can see pieces of it, but you can
Yeah.
see all of these things. But it's going to get increasingly harder for the next crop, the next wave of animators, the next writers, the next artists, the next sound, the musicians, whatever.
Hmm.
If we don't have physical representation of the stuff that we grew up on as kids, the
Yeah.
stuff that we grew up on as teenagers, and I think
Yeah.
it's very important now more than ever, ladies and gentlemen. You can go buy it physical or you can buy
Hmm.
it digitally, excuse me, but
Yeah.
it's not quite like having a physical copy of a
Yep.
cartoon that you grew up on and
Yep.
absolutely loved as a kid. Thundar the
Yes.
Barbarian. You couldn't find Thundar the Barbarian when you were younger.
No. No.
I don't know two
No. Absolutely
people
not.
that have ever watched Thundar the Barbarian. You know what I mean?
I can I go on a little tangent here because it's very
Absolutely.
relevant. This past week, was it Toon Zone magazine? What was the mag? Retro Fan magazine had a Thunder the Barbarian expo big article, but talking about it. And it was really cool. There was one story in there that was really awesome because like, you had Alex Toth the um
Hmm.
doing the designs for it. And they were all sitting around the table at Ruby Spears, and they were basically like, what are we gonna do with these characters? Like, how are we gonna do this, and like how are we gonna like run this through? And Alex Toth couldn't be at that meeting. He was doing some other stuff for Hanna-Barbera because he was all over the place. So this other guy came in and they just sort of introduced him real quick. And he's like, "Oh, here's what you want to do. You want to do this, and blah blah." And he's like, just goes real quick and like knows all this stuff, knows how to get these characters where they're at. And like the guy they're interviewing is like, "Oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. This guy's great. Like who the fuck is this guy?" Yeah, like, and then afterwards, like he's talking to one of his guys, like, "Who? Like, so was that one of the execs? Like, he really knew like his stuff. He like really knew how to do character stuff." And like, guy looks around, is like, "That's Jack Kirby." like I didn't
Jack
know
the
that was
King
Jack
Kirby.
Kirby. It's like we didn't have the internet back then. You don't know who these guys are. It's just like, but he of course knew who Jack Kirby was, like the biggest comic creator, one of the biggest comic creators of all time. It's like Jack Kirby just comes into the meeting table and tells him how to make Thundar the Barbarian cool. It's like, all right, cool. It's like
What was that?
yeah.
That was you said Retro Fan Magazine?
Retro Fan Magazine. Yeah, yeah.
And then
So
you said another Toon magazine, Toon
Uh,
magazine?
I said Toon Zone. That's a long dead magazine. They don't even
Oh,
do. Yeah, it's long dead. I have
is
for some reason I was thinking Toon Zone, but it was Retro Fan. Yeah. So
is Retro Fan just is it like a whole bunch of stuff, old stuff, or
yeah,
is it
yeah.
animation?
It does a lot of animation. They typically have like a big animation article. They did the
Mhm.
last two were was a two-parter on just on Super Friends, which was
Yeah.
really good. And then they have a bunch of other like just old TV stuff, and like they'll have like some I Love Lucy type stories
Hmm.
and stuff like that in it. But it's like mostly old TV, but like
Nostalgia bomb.
yeah, but they always have like the big article is always like some big thing in animation, which is cool. So my dad gets it every month, and he sends me the digital copy. So it's
I'll have
awesome. So I can
to
send you the digital
uh,
copy at some point too. So because
I'll
it's
have
great.
to check it out. But if there was a big thing that happened within animation, it was the
Mhm.
What a Cartoon shorts. Uh,
Yes.
the 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 you just talked we talked Dino and then we got sidebar. This is why I
Mhm.
love podcasting because you never know where
Yeah.
these conversations are going to go.
Never know where it
And I'm
goes.
always I'm always happy to see where they go. But one of let's before we go with the last of mine, because we
Mhm.
did two of mine over there
Right.
on your show. What was one of the other ones that you had mentioned that you had looked back so fondly on?
Yeah, I remember doing what was it called? I forget the name of it. There we go. It was Hard Luck Duck and
Hmm.
Wind Up Wolf. Those are the last two cartoons produced by William Hanna. And it was just, it was about this little duck. And again, he was, it was a very heartwarming kind of a short, very ugly duckling esque. But you have like the little duck that, he's in the, he's in the care of like an alligator who's like taking care of him, and it's got Russie Taylor, it's got Brad Garrett, it's got Jim Cummings, so it's
Jim
all,
Cummings as the wolf
yeah,
or the coyote,
as the coyote, yeah, as
or
and
was
it's
he a fox or
as
a coyote?
as a wind up, I think it's Wolf, because I think it's Wind Up Wolf was his gimmick. I can't remember, but I think that was his. I
Well, no,
can't remember who it
Jim
was.
Cummings was the Cajun cook in Hard Luck Duck.
Oh,
But I
that's
can't
right.
remember if he
Yes,
was a I can't
yes,
remember if he was a
you're right.
coyote or a wolf,
You're
or I mean
correct.
a coyote or
Yes.
a fox.
Yeah, correct. Yes, I apologize, but yeah, man, like it's
Oh,
again,
don't apologize. Just be better, Brandon. That's
just
all
be
I ask.
better.
Just be better.
Just be better. Just be better. But yeah, it was created, written, directed by William Hanna, and it's just like it's this very like it's very heartwarming. It's
Hmm.
very cute. It's probably not like the best of any of them, but it's so like symbolic of everything going on that you
Hmm.
have these huge names that are big names now. Seth MacFarlane, Butch Hartman, Rob Renzetti of animation, like that are huge in the industry now. But even back then, a one of the, as you called him, a titan of animation
Hmm.
at the time, like made a short for this show. Because again, we didn't have a network that was all cartoons. Like even Nickelodeon, which was mostly, kids program, was all kids programming. It wasn't all cartoons. You had television programs, great television programs. You had game shows, wonderful game
Hmm.
shows. I would say the game shows of Nickelodeon were my second favorite thing, apart from the Nicktoons. And so just to have uh the final shorts of one of the greatest cartoon creators out there, it's something to be had. It's just something to, it's a piece of history that people should know about, and that comes from just this thing that we don't have hard copies of. Like you said, it's all digital stuff, and it's nice that we're able to have these digital releases, these bootlegs, these uploads to YouTube. I don't condone pirating things if you can obtain it legally, but there are so many things that I enjoy that you can't get legally at all. You literally have to pirate it because nobody owns it, nobody's producing it, no one's putting it out there as a product. And it's just things that I enjoy. I like those little hidden gems out there that, like, maybe it's not the best thing in the world, but it was William Hanna's last cartoon. That means something. That actually that's a real thing. And I would love to just see a DVD release of What a Cartoon Show just for that. Like we get to have like the first cartoon by Seth MacFarlane and the last cartoon by William Hanna. That's a big deal. And we should have that.
We absolutely should. And then the fact that we don't is an absolute travesty.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what I loved about this one, I don't remember watching that one as a kid. I
Yeah.
don't remember watching Wind Up Wolf as a kid. I
Mm-hmm.
know I've seen these things because I went back and during COVID, I rewatched every short that they had up on YouTube. So I've
Mm-hmm.
seen these before, but it's just like there's so many things that you can remember in flashes when you're a kid, and I don't remember these two. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember watching Hard Luck Duck and just having so much fun with it. Just sitting back and listening to Jim Cummings and Brad Garrett, and
Yeah.
you hear those voices. Like these two shorts in particular that you picked, one of them had a very Roadrunner Wile E. Coyote vibe to it,
Mm-hmm.
and it had a Tweety and Sylvester vibe to it in a sense of Hard Luck Duck,
Yeah.
and then it was the standard but updated modernist at that time for 94,
Mm-hmm.
95 when Wind Up Wolf came out,
Yeah.
of the Big Bad Wolf story. So it was a fun little play on a story you heard when you were a kid with the Wind Up Wolf.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite scenes, and it's because it hits so hard for what I do for a living, the fact that the fox is a chef, right? And his
Yeah.
dish is this one duck. It's like a duck nugget, right? There's not much meat on that duck. And
Mm,
his whole business is a restaurant, and he's going to sell one duck
one
nugget.
duck nugget.
One, just
Yep,
one.
that's it.
That's what's so zany. That's what's so outlandish. That's what's just so dumb in the
Yeah,
best possible way about this
yeah,
cartoon that I just
yeah.
fucking absolutely fell in love with it. I mean, it was fun seeing, like I said, that Spike character in Tom and Jerry that would go over
Mm.
there and beat up Tom if he tried to
Yep,
mess with Jerry.
yep.
It was just it really felt like he took everything that he touched in his career,
Hmm.
and that was his homage. That was his
Yeah,
love letter. That was his last bow. That was his send off. You know what I mean? Obviously, it was his last cartoon. You
yeah.
don't know when you're coming, but I feel like when you get to his age and when you got to Joe's age, you kind of know, hey man,
Hmm.
tomorrow might not be promised. So let me get everything out there. And like I said, that felt, for whatever it might be. I know a lot of people have brought up that cartoon that I've had on that have said, it's not like it was the greatest. They only gave it to him because he was Will Hanna. I mean, dude,
Hmm.
you give it to him, man. Michael Jordan shows up to the arena. You let him in. He doesn't pay for anything. He doesn't pay
Yeah,
for a ticket. He doesn't pay for a hot dog and a Coke and some popcorn. You know what I
yep,
mean? Same thing with Joe and Bill. Joe and Bill. But I loved it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was cute.
yeah.
Um, I thought it was, like I said, it was just a blast. Out of that one and Wind Up Wolf, if you had to have one be the one that you wanted to remember him for, which one would you pick?
Probably Wind Up Wolf. I like that
Wind
one.
Up Wolf?
Yeah, I think that. I think
What was
that.
about that one that you liked more?
Well, I don't know. Now that you say it, just with the way you put the whole nugget thing, that is really good. It's such an avant-garde restaurant deal. It's like you're a chef, I'm a
Just
foodie.
imagine
So
you get in your what are those boats called with the big old what is it? Not a wind
y-
motor. Ah, fuck, man. What is it called? The big
y-
bayou boats that they have on the, you know what I'm
right.
talking about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kind of, what's that boat called?
Fan boats.
Is
Fan
that what it
boat.
called? You see,
Yeah, big fan
imagine
boat. Yeah.
you're in the bayou, you're
Yeah.
hungry, you're like,
Yeah.
oh shit, this restaurant over here, they got duck, they got
Yeah.
the duck. Let's go over there. Like, no, 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 we sold out. Like, well, how many did you sell? You just had one. And it was one duck. I would eat fox that night. You know, but I digress. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like, what
No.
was it about Wind Up Wolf though that you liked a little bit
Uh
more?
it's just that tale of three little pigs. There's so many of
Mhm.
those, and I like dumb robots. Like
Yeah,
I like stupid robots, and it's the nostalgia thing. I remember that one being very prominent in my memory, and a guy making a robot to go get the pigs for him and stuff. It was yeah, it was just fun, is the whole thing. And the Jetsons make a cameo in it, so which is great.
yeah.
So, Jetsons pop in, and I'm a I'm a purveyor of the Jetsons, man. I freaking love the Jetsons. They never get any love ever since the 90s movie in 1990. That was the last thing produced
Mm.
of the Jetsons until WWE had that one movie, which is crazy to me. Like literally 34 years later with that, it's just that's nuts to me. I don't know. It's just
Maybe
uh
that's what it takes is the WWE and Scooby-Doo
yeah,
resurrecting the foundation of Hanna-Barbera.
something is that. Well, they were going to do that with Scoob, and they dropped the ball with Scoob, so they didn't
What do you mean
quite.
drop the ball with Scoob? You didn't like
So
Scoob?
now I like Scoob. Okay, it was just kind of a mess,
Hmm.
and what their original pitch would have been way more interesting, but it wasn't a Scooby movie. It was a Hanna-Barbera movie.
Yeah.
And it was gonna be like Jabberjaw was gonna be in it because you had Captain Caveman in there, like, but it was
Hmm.
just sort of like, oh, randomly Captain Caveman's in this movie. It's like Captain Falcon's there, but he sort of is like worked into the plot. You got Dick Dastardly, he's the villain, stuff like that. But it was gonna have Grape Ape, it was gonna have Jabberjaw, it was gonna have like all the characters from Hanna-Barbera, like in this giant Avengers style mix up.
Would it
And
have
it's
had Frankenstein Jr. in there? Because
yeah,
if it would have had
oh,
Frankenstein Jr., I'm gonna write a letter right now.
dude, like if they would just give me Future Quest like as a thing. I don't know if you ever read Future Quest at all.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. We've talked about it. I remember we talked about it. if they made Future Quest into like an animated series, like right now, I just no, we're done. Or I'd be it'd be over with. Because I love Frankenstein Jr. I love Mitor. I love all those Hanna-Barbera cartoons. They were so fun. But like that's what like Scoob was gonna be. It was gonna be like this like Laugh Olympic style like action movie or whatever, which probably isn't like the right direction if you want to make a movie called Scoob. But I liked Scoob. I just think that they didn't give it much of a chance. They threw it out there during COVID, you know, so nobody went and saw it, and then they just kind of said, whatever, and they canned the sequel. So that's where they dropped the ball for me. So I think they should have given it more of a shot because you know, they just didn't bother because it was COVID movies. They just threw it out on streaming and then it died. It's like, okay, cool. It's like, So, but yeah, what was I talking about? Like, I
Oh,
can't remember.
we were
Yeah,
just talking about Scoop because you had said it had dropped the ball multiverse.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I would have loved to see that movie.
yeah,
But I think they would have had two conflicting properties out. And maybe this is
yeah.
why, because are you a fan of Jellystone?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I'm sort of a fan of it, sort of. I
I fucking love Jellystone. It's so fun.
Yeah, there's parts of it that I like, and then parts of it that I'm just like, I don't like, because I like Chowder. I like the guy who made. I like Chowder, and it's the guy who made
CH
Chowder.
Greenblatt. Yeah.
T.H. Greenblatt. He's great. Like, it's just like I there's just like parts of Jellystone that I really like, and there's parts I'm just like, that's a weird decision. I don't know, and I get it. He's a wacky dude. He has a really wacky sense of humor, and I like that. But I don't know. It's like I do appreciate the cameos. I saw the Jetson cameo on there. I loved the Jetson cameo on there. Actually, I think that was actually a lot of fun.
Did you watch the
Um,
Space Ghost one?
I watched the Space Ghost one. Yeah, yeah.
Man, oh man, that made my pants tight so bad. I was so happy
It,
to see it.
it's really weird because like when Space Ghost Coast to Coast was on, they had the original Space Ghost voice actor on there, and he was really
George
old,
Lowe. Yeah.
George Lowe, and he was really old at the time. And now they have that Space Ghost on Jellystone, and he's super old now. And it's like, oh no, how old am I? Like, this is terrible. It's like,
So
oh, but
we need to do a Jellystone episode so you can appreciate the
I
shout out to Toby Jones because Toby Jones got to storyboard previous
nice,
guest. He got to storyboard the Space Ghost episode, and he was such a huge fan of Space Ghost Coast to Coast, like I am myself, and like so many
nice,
people are. And
nice.
he had a great time on that episode.
That's cool. That's awesome. And again, there's things that I really appreciate about it. I love Doggy Daddy and Augie. I think that's like the
Yes.
best. That's They do a lot of episodes involving them, and that's correct because they're hilarious. The
Hmm.
her lost in the grocery store is one of my favorite episodes because she's just having a blast and like doing this, like, and he's freaking the fuck out, like, "Where's my daughter?" And it's like he's freaking out on people like that. That stuff's fantastic. I like the what's I can't remember that guy's name. The actor who plays the little bear kid, like that. He plays it's the Hillbilly
The Country
Bears, and
Bears? The Country
yeah,
Bears.
it's the Hillbilly Bears and like the kid, and
Yeah.
it's like this comedian, and it's like his voice on that, like, just it grates me, man. There's something about it that I'm just like, "Ugh, can't do that one." But there's parts of it that I really like, and then parts I'm just kind of like, why is Yogi a doctor? Like, I don't
Dude, I'm so
understand
glad you
that.
brought that
Like,
up because
so
I love we for sure need to do a Jellystone
we
episode.
should we should.
But I love the fact that literally the dumbest character is like him. I can't remember if I just want to see this, but him reading somebody's heart with a potato, something along those lines. It was something so stupid. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, this is comedy at the peak. I fucking like there's so many people that hate on Teen Titans Go and they liken it they liken Jellystone to Teen Titans Go because of the animation
Right.
style, because of that
Mhm.
chibi, that cute, that little,
Right.
watered down like
Yeah.
5-year-old humor. But
Yeah.
there is so much fun to be had in both of those shows. You
Yeah.
know, when I think of
Yeah.
Teen Titans Go, it gets a bad rap.
It
But
does.
when Robin the superhero and Robin the bird switched bodies and brains,
Mm.
and then you've got Cyborg cooking a fucking meatloaf, leaves it on the counter, and you have Bird Robin come in, and then he fucking guns himself. It is one of the stupidest and dumbest things ever. But like I said, that and Jellystone, I fucking love Jelly. There's
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate a lot of Jellystone. There's parts of it that feel very meme humor to me. That's like a little
mhm.
bit like, ah, it's a bit too much. But they're like when it hits a good humor moment, I'm like, oh, it's great. There's a few changes that I think is weird. I don't know why Jabberjaw's a girl. We should do an
Yeah.
episode. We should absolutely do an
Yes.
episode because I don't dislike Jellystone. I think it's very fun in what it
hmm
tries to do, and I know that Greenblatt is like, he does what he does. So it's we could definitely do a whole episode on it, and I'll stave off for that. We can leave it at that.
Speaking of an episode we're doing on, we're talking What a Cartoons, ladies and gentlemen. I know this is what I
Yes.
like. I said this is what I love about podcasts, man. We go wherever we
Mhm.
can and go everywhere we want to.
Yep.
So as we start to wind down, there is one cartoon in particular. Well, one of mine and one of yours I wanted to circle back to because I don't think we talked about it enough. We talked about it a little
Mhm.
bit. We didn't talk about Gramps enough.
Okay. Yeah.
There was one scene in particular that
Mhm.
I absolutely loved in Gramps. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Butch Hartman and Mike Ryan. Say what you will about Butch, man. I've got no opinion, good, bad, or indifferent. I know the guy's a controversial character. I'm not here to shit on anybody. Even with
Mhm.
John Kay, I try not to shit on anybody because I don't want anything coming back on me, you
Yep.
know. It's just there's so much hate out there already, and the last thing I want is hate directed towards me. So go
Yeah.
somewhere else for that shit. But what I will
Mhm.
say, this short was hilarious. It is revolved around two
Yeah.
little kids playing a Nintendo-esque game of Space Invaders,
Yeah.
and then their grandpa is sleeping. And they wake him up. He hits him in the head. Oxygen comes out, goes on the dog. Very stupid, silly little gags. And a dog
Yeah.
floats up to the sky. And then, like most grandpas do, let me tell you a story about my youth, about walking up a mountain when it was 10 feet of snow and yada, 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 just to get to school.
Yeah.
My
Mhm.
favorite scene in this was that montage. Everything's black and white,
Mhm.
and the kids are just picking apart grandpa's stories. Like,
Yeah.
weren't you a farmer? Didn't you have a mule? We've
Yep.
never had a woman president. He was like, please, for the love of God, give me this one. I
Give
gave
me
you
this
color.
one thing.
Give me this one thing. I loved that scene, but what I loved the most was right before they switched from black and white to color was
Mhm.
just that splash of yellow.
Yeah.
Yellow's my favorite color. That
Nice.
splash of yellow, and I was like, oh man, this is so cool. And then the aliens were sitting there like, oh, yellow. And he's like, but I look really good in yellow. So I loved this this whole pilot. What was your favorite? What was your favorite part? What was your favorite scene? What was your favorite moment in that?
You mentioned it. The let me
Yeah.
have this one. Just let me have this one
Yeah.
thing. His hot farmer wife was just like the best. Like, and I just like, you have the two kids' voices. I forgot her name that does those
Tara
kids.
Strong. I think Tara
Did Tara
does
Strong do
one of them.
one?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it
she
was
does
very
one. Yeah, yeah.
Bubbles-esque,
Yeah, she does one, and then the other one was, is it Kath Sosi? I think Kath Sosi might
probably.
do the other one. But yeah, it's so good. Like, it just like in Nebraska, I don't
Yeah.
know. They sound like these little shits. Like,
Yeah.
like these little punks. Like, it's so funny because like like when I was younger, I identified with the kids, like calling his grandpa on his
Now you're the
bullshit.
old guy.
And now I'm the old guy. I'm like, shut the fuck up and let him talk, you little fucks. Like, it's just it's like when you grow up like watching a Goofy movie. It's like, oh, you're on Max's side. And then when you grow up, you're like you're on Goofy's side. It's just
Yeah.
it completely switches.
I'm
So
still chasing
yeah,
that slice of pizza, by the
yeah.
way.
Yeah, right. There you go. But that one line of when he's just like, just give me this one thing, please. It's like okay. Like, they have to let him have his hot farmer wife. So good. It's a
Oh,
great
no,
short.
she was the president. She
Oh,
was the
president.
president.
That's right. Yeah, as
Yeah.
yeah, a
Um,
female president. Yeah,
We've
that's
never
right.
had a female president. And then, like I said, that was like my favorite scene, just seeing the color changes. I thought it was really cool, really, really interesting way to like push something further, right?
Hmm.
And then my favorite scene was they essentially kill him at the end, but they don't really kill him. They're like, oh,
Hmm.
he went to sleep, and they just turned his oxygen down. That is one of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
most
yeah. Dark.
diabolical.
It's so dark. It's so dark.
I'm tired of hearing this story. What did he do? I just turned the oxygen
I just
down.
turned on his oxygen. It's like, oh my god, like that could kill him. It's so
Oh,
funny. But yeah, and again, like it has really verbose humor to it. It's like it's very, it's not dark, but it's like really punchy, and
mhm.
it has like some classic, like the punchiness that I would say that like Fairly Odd Parents had back in
Yes.
the day. You had that, like there's some punchy humor to that's like really verbose and like kind of like, like, oh dad, when it's like, when did you give up in your dreams, dad? How old are you again? It's like stuff like that. It's just like, good stuff. Like I love that. So yeah, it's one of my all-time favorites. And I remember learning it was Butch Hartman
Mhm.
years ago. I want to say about 5-7 years ago. I learned that Butch Hartman did that one because I remember that short specifically out of most of them. That was probably the one apart from like the ones that got picked up that I remembered the most, which was Gramps. I love Gramps. And again, like I said on our episode, on my animation destination episode, it's the one that I wanted to see picked up the most.
Yeah.
Like I would have loved to have seen that. Just that old grandpa making up bullshit stories to his kids. Yeah. And
It's
just
so
like,
relatable.
yeah, and them just like tearing it apart. You could go anywhere with it. It'd be great. It'd be awesome. So I would love to see that.
Oh man, me too.
Reboot it. Reboot it, Butch. Let's call Butch
Come
up.
come
Reboot
on,
it.
God damn it, make this shit happen.
Right?
And then the last one for me, like I said, when I think of what a cartoon, I think of
Mhm.
Oh Rats in a Hot Tin Can, and then I
Yes.
think of Two Fat Cats, Drip Dry Drip. This
Yeah.
one This one was so fun because it was weird, and I don't know why. I have that whole Mandela effect, the Bernstein Bears and the Bears see Bears, that whole thing.
Yeah.
So I
Sure.
had this thought in my head for up until I rewatched this. I haven't rewatched this short probably since 2020. Um,
Hmm.
I thought when the president come on because of when it was, I thought the guy talked with a Clinton accent for the
Yeah.
longest time. All right. I thought that's what it was because he had his look. He didn't really walk like him. Bill wasn't really like a fucking a real big bodybuilder type guy, but he had this presidential vibe to him. And I don't know
Yeah.
why I thought that it was a Bill Clinton sound alike as far as the voice goes. Um, but this one is centered around two brothers, younger brother Louis,
Hmm.
older brother Elmo.
Hmm.
Elmo is very of mice of men, very slow,
Yep.
very um what am I
Very,
looking for?
very Lenny.
Very,
Yeah.
yeah, very Lenny, but he's very like childlike in his sensibility and his humor. He is very
Yes.
young up here.
Yes.
And they open up a dry cleaning spot and they get a phone call as soon as they open, and it's not the phone, it's the phone. It's the red phone coming straight from the White House.
Hmm.
And the president needs who starts their day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon?
Yeah.
I want to know, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got 4 hours until you close. That's a work day. I can do that. But the
Hmm.
president calls. He needs his suit pressed, cleaned, and altered by 5 o'clock because he's got a round of golf to go play.
Yep.
And then hilarity ensues. They end up taking all of the measurements. They do a dick joke in there in between because they go and measure the inseam, which I thought was hilarious. He's like, "Oh, my bad, Mr. President," and then he looks over at the camera. So he goes and he takes it, and then what was fuck, man? Why did I just blank? Was it Elmo? Was that
Elmo.
the Okay, I
Yep.
don't know why I just blanked on the younger brother's name, but he
Yep.
takes down all of the measurements and it ends up being a happy, smiling son with the house that he drew.
Hmm.
Pisses his older brother off. The one scene that always comes to mind is when Louis is hitting the button to bring the suits over, and then
Hmm.
suit comes, and then a half rack of cow, another half of a cow, and then another one's coming, and then he goes over there, and then he's just got a cow. They're both looking at the camera. There's a red X on the cow's head, and he's hiding the mallet behind his back. That's the scene that comes to mind. Like I said, suit gets ruined. They knock it out in 5 minutes.
Right.
Bing, bang, boom. The short's over with, and it was just fun. It was very similar to the humor that was going on. I think
Mhm.
John
Yeah.
McCallum, however you say his last name,
Yeah.
directed this one.
Hmm.
Just a fun short, fun, stupid little short from start to
Yeah.
finish.
Yeah. Ron Fleischer was actually the creative director too. So
Hmm.
Animaniacs, it has that very, very distinct Animaniacs look to it.
Yes.
That those poppy movements, those smiles and those big hands like that. You cannot miss that. Like when you look at it, it's like, oh, that's the Warner Brothers. Like the way they're moving, like
Yes.
the way the two brothers are moving, it's very much the Animaniacs, the way they
Hmm.
move. It's a lot of fun. I remember like there's little signatures in animation that you can pick out of like
Hmm.
certain things, like not just art design, but the way something is animated. You can see how Tex Avery animated something as opposed to somebody else or Chuck can't
Jones,
think
Bob
Jones.
Clampett.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chuck Jones, Bob Clampett. Like you could tell when a Chuck Jones cartoon was on. You could tell when freaking this was the same guy that did the Grinch.
Mhm.
I like seeing those little signatures and things. And Ron Fleischer has one of those very specific things that you see in many Animaniacs cartoons where they're doing those poppy hand gestures and
Mhm.
big goofy dog smiles and stuff, cat smiles in this case though. So it's cool to watch it in that light. So it was fun rewatching this one because I remember this one a lot. Because again, anything that's in a Frasier style chaos ramps up towards the end, I always love. Just it gets worse and worse and worse and worse until it all explodes. And in this case, literally the whole
Yes.
the whole thing just like blows up at the end. And yeah, like I see what you mean about the president though, like the way he looked
Hmm.
like he would have been a Clinton parody. Like
Yeah.
it's weird that he wasn't, like I didn't, I don't remember him being that, but like the way you say it, it's like, yeah, it seems like he should have been a Clinton parody. Like
Yeah.
that's just how you did it. So
I mean,
yeah,
maybe everybody was doing Clinton at that time,
yeah,
and there's just something they didn't really want to do. But
yeah, yeah.
like I said, I've looked back on this time of my life very fondly, and I'm very happy that I have something like YouTube where I can go back and I can rewatch and recapture my childhood. I'd
Yeah.
much rather have it on a Blu-ray format, just saying Cartoon
Mm-hmm.
Network Discovery,
Yes.
whoever owns this stuff, I would like to have
Right.
it.
Make a thing.
Christmas is right around the corner. My 35th birthday is coming up in August. It'd be a great little, introduction. Say, hey, we've got What a Cartoon coming on
Right.
DVD and Blu-ray. But
Right.
nonetheless, man. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys have been sticking through us with this long. We did talk What a Cartoon. We talked about a whole bunch of other stuff. Hope this is what, like I said, this is what I love about the medium of animation, man.
Mm-hmm.
You never know where the topic's going to go. You can set out and do What a Cartoon. You can come on and said, we're going to talk this, but there's so many influences that go into some of these things. And then you go down these rabbit holes. And I wrote down like four things that I'm going to go and check out that we probably never would have checked out if we didn't at least hit one or two tangents. So,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm getting at, Brandon, it's always fun to have you on, man.
Yeah.
With people that maybe this is the first time they've heard or seen you on my show, maybe they're a new guest themselves. What
Mm-hmm.
can they expect if they go over to Animation Destination?
If you go to our animation destination, you can expect an animation celebration podcast. I never talk about stuff that I don't like. It's always something that I celebrate, something that I enjoy. If there's animation that comes out recently that I don't like, I don't really talk about it that much. So I don't like to crap on things on my media. I do like to crap on things. That's a lie.
He
But
he
I
does. I hear it.
but I don't do it on my podcast typically. And I don't make the topic about something that I hate. I always make it about something that I enjoy. Um, and I have a stupid trivia brain for dumb animation things. I can't remember my I can't remember 17 of my different passwords to things on my computer, but I can remember Jack Kirby showed up at a meeting and Thunder the Barbarian. That's a recent one, so that's not too bad. But still, it's like these things get retained when it happens, but you'll see those things kind of pop out all the time. And a lot of my guests are super into the stuff that I do. Jay's a great guest. He's always into the stuff that the more I guess kid oriented stuff. He's on my Bluey episode, my Hilda episodes. So and I cover animation, cartoons, kids cartoons. I love my Bluey episode. The Bluey episode is one of my favorites, and that's literally just a children's episode. I'm doing another Bluey episode pretty soon, so on The Sign, which was the latest special of Bluey. Um, it's good stuff. Well, I think it's good. Go listen
I
to it.
think it
But
is too. I know it is.
yeah, so I don't want to toot my own horn, but you'll probably come out with some laughs and some stupid bit of animation trivia that you probably didn't need to ever know, but then you will. So
It's the more you know. That's what we need to have a buck.
Yeah.
Larry, hook us up with the more you know, just going across our back. Like I said, Brandon, it's always fun. You can see Brandon coming up very soon. We're going to be doing a My Hero. You'll see Brandon, you'll see
Yes.
Ricky, and we're going to see Ty on here. And we
Yeah.
might try to get Sean on here as well because Sean hasn't been on in quite some time. We're going to be doing a half season and a full season breakdown of My Hero. So if you're not watching My Hero, ladies and gentlemen, get on it.
Nice.
Fan, I was so pissed, Brandon. I was so mad when that first episode ended because I am very weird when it comes to the manga and anime. I will not read past what I've seen because
Hmm.
I want to be surprised with the show.
Hmm.
Makes no sense whatsoever when you think
Oh, I
about it.
get that.
Yeah, but I was just like, I want here's why. I don't think I've told you this story, and then we'll end it with this one.
Hmm.
So last season, right? Or well, I think it was last season. Last season, Lemillion lost his powers, or was it the season before? Right?
Season before. Yep.
Okay,
Season four,
so
he lost
season
it.
before
Yep.
last, right? So he gets his powers back. You don't know
Hmm.
that, right? If you read the manga ahead, you would know that. So
Hmm.
Hayden and I are watching. It's the fight with Dobby and all of them,
Yep.
and I see a flash go by. I'm like, those colors. What was that? Was that Lemillion? Hayden's in the kitchen. He's getting something to drink or something to eat. Well, because we watched this one and we're watching
Mhm.
One Piece. You need to watch One Piece, Brennan. Just saying, don't wait till next year. Watch it
I
now.
do need to
It's
do that.
fantastic. It's
Yeah.
so good. Um, I'm so invested right now. I mean, I'm wearing One Piece PJ pants right now. For
There
God's
you
sakes, I have just went off the deep end with this shit. But anyways, and I go, oh my God, Hayden, you got to come in here quick. He thought something crazy happened. He's like, what
go.
happened? What happened? What happened? And I go rewind. I'm like, do you see that flag? It was like I was. It was the Leonardo DiCaprio and
Yeah.
oh shit, what was the movie? Ah,
Uh,
fuck. With Quentin Tarantino. The last one he just did.
oh yeah,
Once Upon a
yeah.
Time in Hollywood.
Once
He's
upon a
like,
Hollywood. Yeah.
He's
Oh,
pointing
right
towards
there,
it.
right
So
there.
I did it. He's like, what are you pointing at? And I did it again and I paused it. I'm like, what do those colors look like? And he was like, what are you looking at? And I was like, dude, this fucking Lemillion. And then the very next scene, Lemillion pops up and he was like,
Yeah.
yeah, Dad, I know. I've read the manga. I'm further than I know what happens. And I was like, I look at him and I told Ricky this too. I'm like, this is exactly why everybody hates kids. You
You. How dare you? Oh
goddamn
man.
kids shitting on my parade.
Oh
But
man.
no,
Yep.
it's My Hero Academia. The first episode off this latest season has been
Yeah.
so fantastic. I'm so ready for our split episode. But
Yep.
like I said, Brandon, man, it's always a blast when I get to have you on here because you are one of the most intelligent people I've ever met, especially when it
Oh.
comes to animation. I am very envious of you when you can sit here and rattle shit off. I'm like, God damn it, I wish I could remember some of this shit.
Oh man, it's great. It's great being on. I love having you. I love coming on with you because you are like you got. You say you have an annoying voice. You have a very soothing voice, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
So I think we both have good radio voices, honestly.
Oh, yes. We got
But
good
we also
radio
have
faces for sure.
yes, no, we have faces for video as well. I think we're both two handsome dudes. But yeah, no, it's great to have you on, and the hustle this guy does to get people on his show is crazy good. I wish I had half the ability or half the balls to like contact the people that dude talks to Craig McCracken twice. He's had Butch Hartman on, or not, but not Butch Hartman. Uh, dang it, Craig.
Robert
Ah,
Zetti.
no, Hey Arnold, creator,
Oh, Craig Bartlett.
Craig Bartlett, and
Yes.
it's like he's had Craig Bartlett on twice, and twice or once, Cameron, twice, once,
Twice, twice, twice,
twice, yeah,
twice.
twice. See, I haven't asked him about. You need to get him back on one more time because I need to
I'm
talk
going
to him
to.
about because what?
I've got two more. I've got two more times that
Oh,
I'm going to try. One, we're going to do. I talked to him last year about it. We're going to do
yeah,
the episode where we did all of the oh shit, what are they called?
yeah.
The spooky fuck me, urban legends, the urban
Urban
legends
Legends.
episodes. I want to do that
Okay,
one, and I
okay,
want to do
yeah.
the same thing we're doing like I did with the Powerpuff Girls. I'm gonna get him, one of the writers, one of the artists, maybe a voice actor. I haven't talked to him about that one yet, but that's something we're working on.
That's fantastic. I want to talk to him. I want to ask a question about Party Wagon. I need to talk about Party Wagon with him. Even it's just through you. I have to talk about Party Wagon because I fucking love Party Wagon.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite little shorts that never got anything. And again, it's like what a cartoon show. It's like that pilot that never got made into anything, but it was awesome. I loved it, and I want more of it. So I got to talk to him about it. So
TBD, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure
yeah,
you come back and check it out. But also make sure you go
absolutely.
over to Animation Destination, check out Brandon's show, dropping mostly every Thursdays now. Are you back to a weekly schedule now?
Pretty close. I think we skipped
Yeah.
last week, but we're going back up weekly again. So, but it's mostly weekly. Yep. So
And even if you're not looking for weekly to weekly, this man has got, what are you doing, 10 years now?
it is
12?
10 years this year. Yes.
The back
10.
catalog is fucking
Yeah.
insane.
It's 368 episodes at this point. So
Jesus.
a lot of episodes. So I need to start breaking that down into seasons because I think that's a little bit too much for people to grasp. So,
Nah,
like,
fuck them,
but
dude. There's
yeah,
1,104 episodes of One Piece. I'm on episode 98.
it's true. It's true. Yeah. And gonna be having a new show coming out. It will probably be just under the same umbrella as this one, but we're gonna be covering arcs from anime, from shonen anime. So we'll be
You got a
covering
name
and
for it yet?
not yet. That is in the works. I will not pause it here because it's I'm working on it. But yeah, it's gonna be shonen anime, and we're gonna cover each arc by arc. That's how I'm gonna start One Piece. I'm gonna do each arc of One Piece and talk to people about that because I haven't watched it yet. We're gonna go through. We did all of Dragon Ball. That's almost done. That
Such a good one.
is yeah. That's almost done. That one will be going up as we're recording this Thursday, which will be the Piccolo Saga, King Piccolo Saga. Um,
How long
so
is that
yeah.
episode? Do you guys go for a long time?
What's that?
Do you guys go for a long time on that episode?
It's about an hour and 20, so not too bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, not too bad at all. So
I
yeah,
was hoping for a 3 hour on that one.
yeah. I was gonna do Piccolo Saga and then Piccolo Junior Saga together,
Mhm.
and there was too much of both, so
Yeah.
we split it up. So that would have been 3 hours easily. So, but yeah, so there we go. But yeah, thanks for plugging my stuff as always.
Oh, absolutely, man. Well, he's been Brandon. I've been Julian. It's been the What's My Head podcast, and this has been another piece of your childhood. Good night.